Hello guys, welcome back to the channel, the Manga Man here, and today we're talking about One Piece chapter 1087. There's so much that's happened since the last time I've done a review, but this will purely be on the chapter, but without further ado, let's get into this review. So, the first thing I want to talk about is the cover art. It's always nice seeing Ace in any kind of cover art, or in flashbacks. It was one of the characters I really liked, purely because it was very different from Luffy, but very similar at the same time. So it's always good to see him. The next thing I want to talk about is location. We get to see two different locations in flashback and current timeline, and then Hachinosu. So the marine base that was Marineford, that was is G1 now. We see initially at the beginning of the story of this chapter, we see Brand New's explaining to Django and Full Body that the battleships that they see in the scrapyard were essentially punching bags, sandbags for Garp, and the other one, because there's two we see, the other one was basically for Aokiji. Later on in the chapter they come back to this, but the key point I took from this was that it takes time to develop that power, and this is quite key considering a lot of characters have kind of developed power quite quickly in the story for narrative point of view because of rivalries, like Luffy, like Law, like Kid, and now that we've seen that Kid and Law have basically been dealt with, it's going to take them time to rebuild, and it's going to take them time to get to the power that they need to be a threat to a Yonko level individual. That being said, that was the key point that I took from that. Now, we move back to Hachinosu, and at this point we've seen what essentially is the outcome of some type of scuffle, because we see that Mr. Wolf, San Wolf, has been flung into the water. We don't see it happening, we just said he was sent flying by him, which is Garp. So Garp essentially threw that mammoth of a man into the sea to drown, and they're trying to get him out. At that point, we see San Wolf use his ability, heavy drinking ability, to have a flame type of attack, earth, fire, and the menace that Garp is essentially uses other pirates as meat shield, and then flings those meat shields into the area to cause things to burn down, much to the dismay of people on the island, because they're like, yeah, we're gonna die if this place burns down, stop doing this. It just made me laugh. The whole thing was just hilarious. Then we get an update from the sword ship that's kind of just off the island now. They've protected the slaves. The injured are on there. Hibari is probably on there as well. I believe she is, and then she gets thawed out later on in the chapter. What we see on the island though is we see Garp, we see El Helmepo, we see Kobe, and we see Groose, and Groose is like, oh, am I the future of the marine island as well? So obviously they want to live up to his expectations, because Garp is essentially the hero, right? And if he's saying you're the future, it means a big thing. So you can see that the fanboyingness side of him is there. Now, in this exact chapter as well, we get to see that Kobe is still quite naive, because he thinks that someone needs saving. He steps in to find out it was a trap, and then he's nearly sliced and diced by Shiryu of the Rain, and basically he gets saved. Who has to body this as well? Garp. And it does seem like Shiryu's used haki based on sword. It could be artistic design, but it does look like it is a haki based stab. At which point, Garp deals with Shiryu, and Shiryu's on the floor laughing. So, as a follow-on from the point I just made now, it didn't look like Garp was using any armament haki in his body. He looked to have taken that, and it did look like Shiryu basically used haki. He tanks it, he takes him down, but he's taken damage, and this is what sends the pirates in a frenzy, and they're kind of gloating about Chinosu and it being a beehive, and kicking the hornet's nest, so to speak. But we get his bounty, we get Garp's bounty at 3 crowns, and this is from the Cross Guild. 3 crowns is 3 billion, which makes him comparable to admirals. which also makes him comparable to Yonko. And this is going to send people in a frenzy because essentially they're going to say, you know, oh, the bounties are similar, then the power levels must be similar. Because that's how things work, right? And bounties essentially have been set by two different organizations, so you can't compare them. If you are going to compare them, you know, you're opening up a whole can of worms. The way I look at it is Yonko one-on-one are stronger than admirals, but it's quite close, it's relatively close. And generally speaking, two admirals should be able to take down a Yonko. And very rarely they should, you know, shouldn't lose, but it could happen. Three definitely not. Anyway, so that's important to bear in mind. You know, people can go wild with that. Then it kind of comes back to the Aokiji thing because he's taken the initiative. He used an attack called Ice Glove, and then he went to a flashback. And we see the interaction. We see they're at the marine base G1, present G1. And he wants to learn from Garp, but Garp's like, nah, I'm not interested, go see the instructor. He goes, oh, I've been taught by the instructors, I need someone to go through to the next level. Eventually he relents and he goes, okay, we're going to train, we're going to hit these, you can't use Haki, punch the hell out of it. To which Aokiji admits, he goes, look, I'm not physically that strong. So then we see a period of time of training, and we've depicted this based on the power of the impact from 3 panels. You get like a pow from Garp, and then like a smaller attack from Aokiji. We get a thud now, which shows development, and then we get a pow in the 3rd chapter. And we see that a lot of people are going to go like, okay, well that dispels that theory. It specifically says, my son has become a revolutionary. In a fan translation, we'll wait to the English translation to confirm, but that would make Monkey D. Dragon Garp's son. Then we see the Pow Pow, and he's talking about his grandson, Luffy being his grandson. We see that he's a lot older then. So, things to bear in mind, it means they're physically comparable. Garp is a lot older at this point. It's obviously pre-timescape. So that's important to bear in mind. What I did also like about this is when he's kind of like complaining to Aokiji about his family problems. Aokiji's like, I didn't ask, what are you telling me for? I like that because that plays into all his lazy character, the way he is. He's not bothered about anything else. It's not relevant. He's not bothered. So I like that. What I also thought was interesting was the fact that when they're fighting, then he mentions that, oh, you got a habit of bringing up enemies. And that was a bit of a deep cut. They say people that are close to you hurt you the most. And that's one of those deep cuts. Then they throw a punch and both land. It looks like Garps when he gets hit around the eye, around the top of the head, and Aokiji gets chinned. The both kind of get sent flying. We see sparks, which normally means advanced Haki. It normally means conquerors. It hasn't been specified. We'll have to confirm it because they haven't been said to confirm it. It would make sense for Garp to be of that power level because Roger was there, and then Luffy has inherited it from him through his dad. So it would make sense that he's one has Conqueror's Haki, 2 has advanced Conqueror's Haki. We'll have to wait and see. He's on the floor. People are panicking. He's telling Kobe justice will prevail. Is it justice or just ice? You know, we'll see. And then we get the whole Alvaro Pizarro thing where he's, you know, using his island fruit and he's trying to attack the ship, and that's the end of the chapter. So, a few things to remind yourselves. That's probably going to break the internet. Garp proven to be son of father of dragon. Power levels, Yonko bounties similar to Admiral bounties. Takes time to develop power. Is Garp done for? We'll have to wait and see. Next chapter. I'll see you then. Peace.